Now, the murder case of Sowetan woman Tshegofatso Pule has been postponed to the 2nd of July. Today, the court was meant to hear details of how she was murdered. Let's find out more on what exactly transpired today in court. Malepane was charged with the premeditated murder of 8-month pregnant Pule days after she was found stabbed and hanging from a tree. Newsroom Africa's reporter Linda Mnisi joins me now in studio for more of the details. Linda, lovely to have you with us once again. A bit of an anticlimax, I believe, today was, because from the last sitting, he had requested, Musgaise had requested to have a legal aid lawyer. So the expectation today was that we'll start actually getting into the case, but that was not to be.
Indeed, Thami, and one of the interesting things that a lot of people were looking forward to was whether he would change his decision to abandon bail. You'll remember the last time he said he didn't want bail and would remain in custody, but once he secured a lawyer, he would come back and then would get some of those details. But today, that in fact did not happen. It was very short. It was a very brief, court sitting, and what happened is that he did indicate that he does not want legal aid anymore, but does not know when his private lawyer would come. When he was asked when this lawyer would be present, he said, well, maybe today or tomorrow, I just don't know.
Does he actually have somebody in mind already?
Well, it seems as though he's secured the lawyer, but he says he does not know when the lawyer would come. So it's still something that is still in the pipeline being planned behind the scenes. So that infuriated some of the women and activists who were in court. I mean, immediately after the judge or the magistrate made that decision that the case would be postponed to the 2nd of July, we had one of the activists raising their hand saying, can I say something? But the judge immediately said, you can't. You can't say, you're not allowed to say anything here in court. But she said, well, we want justice for women. We want justice. This is another delaying tactic. So they're basically feeling like this is a slap on the face. But the family says, well, we expected that things would take a bit of some time. They're showing to have more patience. But I spoke to the uncle, and this is what he had to say.
I just want to try and inform the public this. Every accused person has a right to be represented by a legal representative of their choice. As much as the family wants justice, I feel the public, but we also need to let certain things to unfold. We need to let the court function in the manner that they should. We need to also allow him to obtain his legal representative of his choice. If he chooses that he doesn't want to be represented by the legal aid and he needs a private attorney, we should also allow him. It is his right. I am not of the view that it is a delaying tactic. From the public point of view, obviously they don't know the court procedures and how it works. Today you have a lawyer, and tomorrow you fire the lawyer, you get a new one. So all I'm saying is let's have patience with the justice system.
And the uncle there, worthy of noting, is himself a lawyer, Tumisang Katake, and had been involved in similar cases where he represented, the accused in one of the cases. But did Musikaya say why he changed his mind?
He didn't. In fact, those are just the questions that he was asked. He was basically asked whether he can confirm that he has abandoned and rejected legal aid, and that's when he said yes. So the uncle there really saying that, well, this is how the justice system works. But, contrary to his statement, what we saw in court, as Muzigaisa stood up from that screen, stood up, walked out, we saw the family break down when the women were calling for justice. So it really just brings in that element. Like you mentioned, Thami, he's an attorney himself, he's a lawyer, but there is that element of humanity that comes in when, you speak about this case, because it is very close to him. And I asked him to take us through that, that moment and how they were feeling. And he says, well, all of these things that are happening are kind of making us relive some of these moments that we've gone through. It is, of course, a wound Thami, that has not healed. And it was evident today in court when the family broke down. But outside, of course, there were pickets by the EFF calling for justice, really describing this. I asked them this: do you think this is a slap in the face of the family? And they said, well, yes. But of course, I spoke to them, and this is what they had to say.
We are here to support the family and to show the country that as the EFF, we are not supporting anything which is supposed to do with the victimization of our women in our country. And then we are here to stand with the family of Tshegofatso Pule as we attended the funeral last week. Today we told all our members in the province and in the region of Johannesburg to join us here to support this family on this case.
Last week we saw him appear and weeping in court. What did you make of that?
Yes, he appeared in the court, and then we're allowing the court, the law to take its course. That's what we're here for. We're here to observe that the law takes its course. And then we'll be asking the detectives and the people who are in charge of the case what is the way forward about the arrest which they made last week. And then we congratulate them by arresting the perpetrator on this matter.
So as it stands now, Muzwekaya, Muzgayise rather, remains in police custody. Nothing was spoken of as far as bail is concerned.
Indeed, he remains in custody, no bail application yet. The family has to prepare themselves for another virtual appearance because he will not be coming to court once again, which is one of the things that have made the activists angry. They're saying, well, he's being protected. He's being made to come through court, to make court appearances through these virtual streamings.
And how did that come about, the virtual streaming?
Well, the magistrate did not really explain, but the assumption that is coming from the broader, public or people that have been attending this court case is that perhaps this could be in line with the COVID-19 regulations. Last week, before the court proceeded, the magistrate was quite adamant that he did not want a lot of people in court. And what we saw this morning as well were the strict regulations and the strict, measures that were put in place to make sure that there are not a lot of people inside a court. So next week, he's expected to make yet another virtual appearance, hopefully this time with his private lawyer.
So before we wrap up, give us a bit of an update as to what exactly we know about this case. Muzgayise Mpelane has made, some confessions.
Well, at this particular point, Thami, those are speculation. There are a lot of speculation around this case and what could have happened. You would have heard me ask the uncle earlier on about what he makes around the issue of, things and speculations that are being posted on social media. And he said, well, if you're sitting with useful information, it's no use posting them on social media. Rather take that information to the police. So there are currently a lot of stories, but we're expecting to hear exactly the details and whether he indeed confessed in court. So until we can hear it from the court, we can't at this point conclude that there was a confession that was made.
And that's very important to stick to the merits of the case because, a case like this is trending. Everybody's talking about it. Gender-based violence is a huge issue in our country. Everybody wants to see justice done. But as you so correctly pointed out, let's stick to the merits of the case. Thank you once again, Linda.